What began as a joyful birthday celebration ended in a horrifying mystery, because by sunrise, the birthday girl had vanished without a trace. And when her body was finally found, the clues uncovered revealed a level of obsession no one saw coming. This is the chilling story of how a simple birthday turned into a meticulously planned murder. Emily Noble had spent weeks preparing for her 29th birthday, hoping for a simple and warm gathering with the people she trusted most. Her small house, usually quiet, was filled with soft lights, decorations, and the smell of freshly baked food. Friends arrived carrying gifts, homemade dishes, and cheerful energy. The celebration was lively but not overwhelming, exactly the kind of evening Emily enjoyed. She moved from room to room, smiling politely, thanking guests, and making sure everyone felt welcome. As the night went on, laughter echoed through the house, and cameras captured moments that would later feel haunting. When the final guest left shortly after midnight, Emily's home returned to its usual calmness. The lights were dimmed, music turned off, and the air settled into silence. A half-eaten birthday cake sat on the table, surrounded by scattered paper plates and empty glasses. An unopened gift rested near the corner of the room, wrapped neatly in pink paper with a ribbon tied perfectly across the top. It was the only present she hadn't opened, though no one realized the significance of that detail at the time. By morning, her house remained unervingly still. A neighbor noticed that Emily's living room curtains were still drawn, which was unusual for her. Her car sat untouched in the driveway, collecting dew under the early sunlight. Hours later, her best friend arrived to check on her, expecting to find her cleaning up or resting after the long night. Instead, the house appeared frozen in time, as if Emily had vanished between one breath and the next. Unease spread quickly through the community as word of her disappearance reached more people. What had begun as a joyful birthday celebration had quietly transformed into the opening chapter of a mystery no one was prepared to face. The search for Emily began with urgency, fueled by the uneasy feeling that something was terribly wrong. When officers entered her home, they were struck by how normal everything looked. Her purse sat on a chair, her wallet untouched inside. Her keys lay neatly in a small ceramic bowl by the doorway, and her phone rested on the kitchen counter with a dead battery. Nothing suggested panic, struggle, or a sudden decision to leave. It was as if she had stepped away for a moment and never returned. Investigators examined every room, documenting the untouched breakfast items, neatly folded blankets, and quiet stillness that filled the space. Outside, the search expanded quickly. Officers walked through the neighborhood, asking residents if they had seen Emily after the birthday party. Not a single person reported unusual activity. Search teams began checking wooded areas, open fields, and abandoned structures within a few miles of her home. Volunteers joined in, creating long lines that swept through dense grass and low brush. Drones hovered above treetops, scanning for clothing or footprints. Despite the combined efforts, there was no trace of her. As hours turned into days, anxiety grew within the town. Posters of Emily's face appeared on street poles, store windows, and social media feeds. News channels picked up the story, urging anyone with information to come forward. Friends and co-workers described her as responsible and predictable, making her sudden disappearance even more troubling. Detectives reviewed her recent messages, schedules, and activities, searching for anything that could explain her absence. Nothing indicated danger or plans to leave. The lack of clues created a growing sense of dread. With every passing day, hope began to slip, replaced by a dark question no one wanted to consider: had something terrible happened to Emily Noble? On the fifth day of the investigation, frustration weighed heavily on everyone involved. Officers had walked the same paths repeatedly, examined the same rooms, and interviewed the same people, yet no solid clue had emerged. Then, during a slow, methodical sweep of Emily's backyard, an officer noticed a faint shimmer on the ground near the back door. At first, it looked like dust reflecting sunlight, but a closer look revealed something unusual: tiny flecks of glitter. It matched the glitter used in Emily's birthday decorations, the same glitter scattered across her dining table and living room floor during the celebration. The discovery seemed small, almost insignificant, but investigators understood that even the smallest clue could shift a case. Following the faint trail, they noticed scattered flecks stretching across the grass, leading toward the edge of the yard. The trail became thinner and harder to follow, eventually disappearing entirely. Still, it raised an important possibility. Emily might have been taken through the back door rather than the front, and whoever moved her may have brushed against the decorations or carried something containing glitter. To expand the investigation zone, cadaver dogs were brought in. Their handlers led them along the property line and into a nearby wooded path that Emily often used for evening walks. For several minutes, the dogs sniffed without reaction. Then, one dog stopped, lowered its head, and alerted near a thick growth of bushes. Investigators pushed through the branches and found a small torn piece of pink ribbon tangled between the thorns. The ribbon matched the material used on Emily's final unopened birthday gift. This fragile discovery changed the entire direction of the search. It was the first physical sign suggesting Emily had been led or taken away from her home, leaving behind a faint but critical trail that someone had not intended to leave. Detectives focused on the guest list from Emily's birthday, hoping someone could provide clues about her disappearance. Each person was questioned about when they arrived, how long they stayed, and what they did during the party. Most guests were cooperative and consistent in their accounts. Some had stayed late to help clean, while others left early due to work. Their stories matched, and none seemed suspicious. One person, however, drew attention: a coworker who had arrived late, stayed briefly, and left quickly without speaking to many people. The man had always shown unusual interest in Emily. He lingered around her at work, volunteered for tasks that involved her, and watched her more closely than others noticed. During questioning, he appeared tense and evasive, struggling to explain his whereabouts after leaving the party. His behavior raised immediate concern. Investigators examined his background and found past complaints describing him as overly attached and sometimes intrusive. Some colleagues recalled seeing him near Emily's car on separate occasions, though he insisted these were coincidences. Neighborhood surveillance provided further suspicion. A vehicle matching his car was captured circling Emily Street late at night, long after the party ended. The repeated passes suggested he was monitoring the area rather than driving randomly. Despite these warning signs, detectives still lacked physical evidence linking him to Emily. No fingerprints were found inside her home, no belongings tied him to the scene, and no one directly saw him near her house during critical hours. Suspicion grew, but without concrete proof, the investigation remained at a standstill. Detectives were left piecing together a troubling pattern, aware that the missing link could hold the key to solving Emily's disappearance. Two hikers exploring a remote wooded area nearly 6 miles from Emily's home made a discovery that would end the search and change the investigation forever. While walking along an overgrown trail, they noticed disturbed soil and a patch of ground that looked unnaturally smooth compared to the surrounding landscape. Curiosity turned into alarm as they realized it resembled a shallow grave. They immediately contacted authorities, and within minutes, the area was sealed off with caution tape as officers and forensic teams arrived. The soil was carefully removed layer by layer, revealing a shape wrapped tightly in a colorful birthday tablecloth. Even before investigators fully uncovered the body, the pattern on the fabric was unmistakable. It matched the decorations from Emily's birthday celebration, creating a chilling connection. When the body was lifted from the grave, jewelry and clothing confirmed what everyone had feared: it was Emily Noble. Her hands were positioned close to her chest, and her hair was matted with dirt and debris. The medical examiner began an immediate preliminary assessment and noted signs of blunt force trauma, suggesting she had been killed before being buried. News of the discovery spread rapidly, sending waves of shock through the community. What had begun as a hopeful search for a missing woman transformed into a homicide investigation marked by grief and fear. Residents who once volunteered to help now locked their doors at night, unsettled by the idea that someone capable of such violence lived among them. Detectives returned to the wooded scene to search for additional evidence. They found broken branches, traces of tire impressions, and footprints partially erased by rain. Each detail hinted that the killer had acted quickly, using the remote location to hide the crime. The discovery turned the case toward identifying a murderer, someone who had planned, transported, and buried Emily where they believed she would never be found. Investigators returned to Emily's home, determined to examine every detail that might have been overlooked during the initial search. The living room, once filled with birthday decorations and laughter, was now quiet and tense. Every object, from scattered plates to leftover decorations, was inspected carefully. Then, detectives noticed the one item that had remained unopened since the celebration, a birthday gift sitting neatly on the table. Until now, it had seemed insignificant, but in light of Emily's death, it demanded attention. The wrapping paper was smooth and intact, with handwriting that none of the guests recognized. When the detectives removed the wrapping, they discovered a small snow globe inside. It depicted a tiny cabin surrounded by falling snow, seemingly ordinary but unusually pristine. Upon closer inspection, the base of the globe revealed a faint scratch, suggesting someone had tampered with it. Beneath the globe, tucked into the folds of tissue paper, was a receipt from a small shop. The purchase had been made the day before Emily's birthday at a store near an abandoned campground several miles outside town. The discovery instantly raised questions. Why would someone purchase a gift from a remote location and leave it unopened? The connection between the gift and the campground hinted at premeditation. Detectives realized the killer may have planned the crime carefully, leaving subtle clues while ensuring the gift appeared innocent. The snow globe and receipt became the focus of the investigation. Police visited the shop to review surveillance footage and question employees. The discovery suggested that the crime had been deliberately orchestrated, shifting the case from a disappearance to a calculated, carefully planned act. The gift became a chilling symbol of how far the perpetrator had gone to execute their plan. Police followed the snow globe receipt to the abandoned campground listed on the slip. The area had been closed for years, with overgrown weeds, broken fences, and decaying cabins. Despite its desolate appearance, investigators treated it as a potential crime site. Each cabin and surrounding area was searched meticulously, as detectives believed the perpetrator might have used the location to plan or hide evidence. Inside one of the cabins, officers found troubling signs. Small flecks of glitter clung to the floorboards, identical to the glitter used in Emily's birthday decorations. Nearby, fragments of pink ribbon were tangled around a nail, matching the ribbon on her unopened birthday gift. These discoveries suggested that Emily, or items from her celebration, had been brought to the cabin. It was the first tangible evidence linking the remote location to her disappearance. The search extended to the forested road surrounding the campground. Tire tracks were discovered near the entrance, preserved in hardened mud. The tread pattern and size matched the co-worker's vehicle, aligning with previous suspicions. Phone records also placed him in the area that night, contradicting his earlier statements. Even with these circumstantial links, investigators faced a frustrating lack of direct proof. There were no fingerprints inside the cabin, no witnesses, and no immediate physical evidence tying him to Emily's murder. The campground findings strengthened the case against him but could not yet secure a charge. Detectives were left piecing together clues, understanding the suspect's movements, and hoping the next discovery would provide the decisive evidence. The investigation had grown more focused, but the final proof needed to confirm the killer's identity remained just out of reach. Forensic experts turned their attention to Emily's digital life, hoping her devices might reveal what the physical investigation could not. Her phone, once considered largely unhelpful, underwent advanced data recovery. Investigators discovered a series of deleted screenshots hidden in a secure folder. The images contained messages sent to Emily weeks before her birthday from an anonymous account. The texts were unsettling, showing detailed knowledge of her daily routines, the paths she walked, and even objects inside her home. The tone grew increasingly intrusive, suggesting someone was watching her closely. Investigators traced the message's source to a prepaid phone purchased with cash at a small electronics store. Store surveillance captured a hooded man buying the phone. While his face was obscured, his posture, build, and gait closely resembled Emily's coworker, who had been under suspicion for weeks. This digital link reinforced the theory that someone had been tracking Emily long before her disappearance. The snow globe purchased for her birthday was re-examined under forensic light. A faint fingerprint was found on the base, nearly invisible to the naked eye. When analyzed, it matched the coworker's right thumb. Though a single print did not prove murder, it directly connected him to the mysterious gift left unopened on her table. The combination of the deleted messages, the purchased phone, and the fingerprint created a chilling pattern. Emily had been observed, followed, and studied, and the perpetrator had left traces of his planning. These discoveries suggested a premeditated crime rather than a spontaneous act. The digital and physical evidence together provided the strongest lead yet, pushing investigators closer to confronting the person behind Emily's tragic murder. Detectives focused on the coworker's personal life, seeking to understand what could have driven him to such extreme and calculated behavior. His work history showed a steady decline over the months leading up to Emily's birthday. He had begun arriving late, missing deadlines, and isolating himself in his office for long periods. Colleagues remembered him staring at his computer with an intensity that made them uncomfortable. What had once seemed like eccentric behavior now appeared to be signs of fixation. A search warrant allowed investigators to examine his apartment. Inside, they found photos of Emily printed from her social media, arranged with obsessive care. Notes detailing her routines, favorite places, and daily habits were pinned to a corkboard. Maps of local streets and walking paths Emily frequented were marked with careful annotations. These items painted a clear picture: he had been watching her closely and planning actions with alarming precision. Further digital analysis revealed internet searches on tracking individuals, remote locations, and disposing of evidence. Drafts of unsent messages showed frustration, jealousy, and obsession. His writings revealed a mindset that saw Emily as someone he deserved to control, regardless of her consent. Records also indicated he struggled with emotional instability for years, although he had never received consistent treatment. Friends described him as withdrawn, intense, and sometimes volatile. Investigators concluded that Emily had been the target of a long-standing obsession that had escalated over time. The evidence confirmed the murder was not impulsive. It was premeditated, carefully planned, and driven by fixation. The behavioral pattern made it clear why Emily had been chosen, providing insight into the killer's mindset. Detectives now had a strong understanding of his motives, but the final link tying him directly to her death was still needed. Forensic teams returned to the wooded area where Emily's body had been found, determined to search every part of the site for evidence that could definitively link the suspect to the crime. Previous sweeps had focused on the grave and immediate surroundings, but investigators expanded the search to areas that may have been overlooked. After hours of careful inspection, a small glint beneath a pile of damp leaves caught an officer's eye. Clearing the debris revealed a cracked piece of black plastic, initially appearing to be ordinary camping gear. Further examination identified it as part of a handheld flashlight. The fragment was sent to the laboratory for analysis. Magnified inspection revealed traces of skin cells lodged in a narrow groove. DNA testing confirmed that the cells belonged to the coworker. This discovery provided the crucial physical connection investigators had been seeking. The fragment proved he had been at the burial site, something he had repeatedly denied. With this evidence, the case against him became nearly airtight. Armed with the new findings, authorities moved quickly to make an arrest. The suspect was taken into custody without resistance, his expression cold and detached. The case file now included stalking evidence, digital traces, physical evidence from the campground, and biological proof at the crime scene. Prosecutors prepared charges of murder, unlawful disposal of a body, and premeditation. News of the arrest spread through the community, bringing relief and closure. Residents gathered for a memorial, leaving flowers, candles, and messages in honor of Emily. While her death had left a lasting scar, the resolution offered some solace. The case became a stark reminder of how obsession can escalate into deadly violence, and how even the smallest overlooked clues can lead to justice.